What's up, guys? Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help you guys on your fitness journey. And I have just been in such a good freaking mood lately. I have never been so fired up and passionate about what I've been doing. And I don't really know what actually has really changed because it's really not much different than what I've been doing for years. But just really feeling pulled in the direction of just honestly getting my message out there more and more to the CrossFit community. And I'm super fired up for this week's workshop that I'm going to be hosting on Thursday. And if you have not already signed up for it, you can still sign up for it. I will put the link in the show notes. I am going to be breaking down the best diet for CrossFitters. And I think that what has really hit home for me is in the last couple of months, just the handful of clients that I've taken on and watching their transition, not just from being somebody that is so insecure in their body, but also looking at the security and the confidence that they're gaining in themselves in the gym, in their workouts. And it gets me remembering how it felt to be a beginner in CrossFit and those newbie gains. And some of these people have been doing CrossFit for years. Some of them had left the CrossFit space and are going back into the CrossFit space. And it just really has me fired up to keep talking about it. And I think that, there's so many misconceptions about CrossFit as a training methodology. And unfortunately, we can't control the programming at all the different affiliates, but I do think that CrossFit is very effective if it is programmed appropriately and fueled appropriately so that you can get the best results out of it. And today's topic, honestly, was really sparked because last week as I was reflecting, I do a lot of reflecting when I'm working out, especially when like right now I'm not in like competition mode. I'm kind of in like the rebuild phase, which by the way is going awesome right now for me. But I just tend to do a lot of my thinking while I'm in, especially when I'm doing aerobic intervals. And I started thinking about a lot of the struggles that women in particular, men too, but women in particular face when it comes to nutrition, especially in the CrossFit world. Um, when I think going back to when I first entered into the CrossFit space, CrossFit was a safe space for me, but it was also a little bit scary and intimidating before I got into it. I had come from a more traditional Globo gym. I was kind of like the group fitness instructor and had kind of always looked at working out like burn calories and like, obviously change my body by the way that it looks. And there was mirrors everywhere. And I entered CrossFit and it was like, how much can you squat? What's your Fran time? Like how many pull-ups can you do? Can you do a muscle up? And all of those skills were like so new to me. And it was exciting to have a training program that it was like a sports specific thing. I felt athletic when I was doing it, even though I wasn't an athlete at the time. I was a vet tech and I was just looking for a fitness program to follow, but it gave me purpose in my training outside of just like, I've got to do this to be healthy. And for a lot of people, I think that's what keeps them out of the gym. They get bored. They don't have anything to chase. And if you're not chasing aesthetics, then it's like, well, I'm just going to like go to the gym and work out. And yeah, don't get me wrong. Workout programs, the mental benefits of doing something is better than nothing. We all feel better. Even after I take a walk, I feel better. But CrossFit just gives us some purpose, and it can come with some good and some bad. And I put a post out there last week, but I had so many other things that I wanted to talk about. And today I want to kind of dive into all of them. And so if any of these things hit home to you and you're watching live or you're watching the replay of this, like, please feel free to shoot me a message. Or if there's ones that I don't talk about that you feel like you struggle with, I would love for you to elaborate on them because I know I'm only touching the tip of the iceberg here. There's a ton of different things that people struggle with. And my goal is that today you leave here with a little bit of clarity and maybe a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Just maybe a little bit of relief that you're not alone and some tips on how you can maybe take things to the next level and overcome some of these struggles. Like that's really what this is about. And a lot of it is the mental stuff. A lot of what I'm going to talk about today starts and stems from the mental aspect of things. So hopefully you guys will get some value out of this. Good morning, Miss Holly. And if you're a dude on here and you're watching, you can probably still get some value out of this. In fact, what I think you can also get value out of this is if you are a dude and you're watching this and your wife does CrossFit or your girlfriend does CrossFit, these are some things that maybe you don't think about. And maybe offering a little bit of support can be helpful for her. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. And I have a pretty long list here, and I'm going to try and kind of keep things somewhat bunched together. And I already just thought of another one. And I'm going to write it down before I forget. Because if I forget, then I won't remember to talk about it. And it's a really important one. Okay, just wrote it down because I don't want to forget. So the first thing that I'm going to talk about, and this is a big one, okay, being overweight. Being overweight in the CrossFit space can feel CrossFit is a community where all body shapes and sizes are welcome. But sometimes before walking into CrossFit or even being in CrossFit, you can look at the women that are super lean and fit, or you see all the athletes, and it can be really overwhelming and intimidating. And CrossFit's a very social community as well. And there's a lot of parties and get togethers and things like that. And being the person at the table that has to worry about your nutrition or feels like you have to be, losing weight, essentially, because most people that enter the CrossFit space do enter with the goals of like getting healthier, getting fitter, and losing weight. But you enter into it with a lot of diet baggage. You enter into it with like, I've been overweight my whole life, a lot of insecurities, and that can make it feel really hard. When you first start and to really enjoy CrossFit, you're intimidated because you feel like, you can't run as fast as other people. And what that ends up leading to is I just think that many women struggle to really ever achieve their goals because they don't really talk about them, and CrossFit is very much a space where we talk about like being more proud of what our bodies can do rather than like, just how we look. But it can be really hard for women who are struggling with weight loss or needing to lose weight, a considerable amount of weight, to really get the direction that they need, because there's so many like conflicting signals out there, like the body positivity movement, like we should all be happy at all sizes. And I 100% agree. Like you have got to be happy no matter where you are on the spectrum. But that doesn't mean that you have to accept that being overweight or unhealthy is okay. And CrossFit is going to improve your health. But what I find that is a lot of people that are overweight, in an effort to change, they go down a lot of restrictive dieting behaviors or restricting dieting rabbit holes. And what I always remind people of when I'm working with them is that whether you are 10 pounds overweight, 20 pounds overweight, 100 pounds overweight, 10 pounds underweight, 20 pounds underweight, wherever you're at in your journey, if you are looking to make improvements in your life, you are doing the right things for yourself. And no matter where you are, you deserve to enjoy that journey. And CrossFit should be enjoyable. So I know that can be a huge struggle for people. And that's why it's so important to not focus on how much weight you might have to lose, and to realize that like creating the habit changes in your nutrition in a way that is sustainable, like how you want to live your life, is so important. Okay. Which is going to kind of lead me down the next things, which isn't only subjective to those people that are overweight. It's in all areas. The next one is a big one, and it's going to lead me down the next 3 or 4 struggles. Undereating. Most women in CrossFit are pushing themselves so hard, but they're skipping meals. They don't prioritize their nutrition. They're so busy with life. They're so busy with other things that they don't actually take the time to figure out what they need to eat. Or in an effort to lose weight or prevent gaining weight, they end up intentionally restricting themselves. They're talking about, I got to fast for my workouts, or they're skipping breakfast because they're afraid of running out of calories later on. They're doing all of these different things in an effort to lose weight, or they're just so freaking busy that they don't take the time to fuel their body. And they're wondering that why by like 12 o'clock, they have no energy. By 4 o'clock, they're like, their hands are in the chip bag because they're so hungry. Like undereating is a huge problem in CrossFit, and it's a huge problem in a lot of areas. But if you're lackluster in your workout, chances are you probably should be fueling yourself a little bit differently. Now, I know what you're saying, but I'm not losing weight, so I must not be eating, too little. Well, that might be the case because over the course of a 7-day period, you might have some days where you're overeating, but you're not fueling your workouts the way that you should be. Undereating is a huge problem. Getting enough protein is another one that women struggle with, because protein intake doesn't come naturally to a lot of people in the standard American diet or what you've been conditioned to eat for so long, especially if you are a woman that is always on the go and you're just grabbing quick things. You're likely what's convenient: carbs and fats, nuts, chips, fruit. Those things are all fine. Some of them are fine, but they're all fine, but they tend to be lower in protein. We're not typically on the run, and it's like we're grabbing something to eat before we go, to take our kids to practice, and grabbing a piece of chicken out of the refrigerator. Although some of you guys would probably benefit more from that than grabbing the chips or the apple. But, you know, it's not natural for us to just gravitate towards protein. And by under consuming protein, you are limiting your body's ability to recover and your muscle building potential, along with the fact that protein is it's essential for everything: your immune function, your hormones, your hair, skin, and your nails, all of these different things. So under eating, getting enough protein, micronutrient deficiencies. And a lot of women don't even know that they have micronutrient deficiencies until they go and get lab work done. But yet they're dealing with things like horrible periods or feeling weak and low in energy. Oftentimes they don't realize they have like an iron deficiency, a vitamin B deficiency. When you're not eating enough micronutrients, you are also going to be getting micronutrient deficient. And this will affect things like your hormones, your inflammation markers, and even your gut health. Women that deal with things like bloating, gas, food sensitivities, or allergies. All of these things are signs that your body is not getting in enough micronutrients. An extensive diet history. As I mentioned, women that enter CrossFit after a long period of time trying to lose weight or trying to control their weight have so much diet baggage, like Weight Watchers, Noom, different types of supplement plans, paleo, zone, carnivore. There's just so many different things out there that your brain is literally on overload. And it's very frustrating. And CrossFit does have a nutrition philosophy, and I do believe that if applied appropriately, can work very well for an individual if they know how to individualize it. I think it's a little bit outdated and we can update it a little bit, but the nutrition foundation of CrossFit is actually a well-built thing. And I don't think I think people look at it like, so the foundation of CrossFit's nutrition is paleo and zone. And I think that people think it's one or the other. It's actually both. It's and it's kind of like it's a very cookie cutter way of quote unquote eating good quality food and dialing in your macros. And I think that if people actually followed that methodology but applied it with their lifestyle and their energy needs, they probably would be much more successful. But instead, they rely on all of the shit that's out there in social media. There's so much diet baggage, it makes it hard to sort through. So the extensive diet history. Macrophobia. This is a big one, and it comes from diet history. And again, this is not just for women, men as well. But they've just been exposed to so many different fad diets and cultural influences that there's a severe fear around eating carbohydrates or eating fats or both. What women don't understand is that carbohydrates are your body's main source of energy. CrossFit is a primarily glycolytic training program. We burn carbohydrates primarily while we're training. So when you're not giving your body enough carbohydrates, it's going to blunt your intensity. And I can talk about how metabolic conditioning will make you better at burning carbohydrates, but that's an adaptation to CrossFit training. But you're not getting enough. So your body is like low on energy. Can we get energy from fats and proteins? Absolutely. But it is much better, and you're going to have much better bang for your buck getting it from carbohydrates. It's a faster source of energy. Your body is going to burn through it much faster. But fat as well. Fat gets demonized as well. And our body does need fats. Now, fat is, we need it in much smaller quantities and easier to overconsume. So we want to make sure that we're getting the right amount for hormonal health without having the negative impacts on our body composition. Restrictive eating patterns. So a lot of women, are, and I'm just kind of going down the diet stuff right now, but like just the whole fasting and this and that, and stressed about like when they take rest days, should they be eating, and do they deserve a rest day? All of these different things go through your head, and it can lead to overtraining, underfueling, and have a negative relationship or negative impact on your relationship with food, with exercise and your body composition. Because when you're underfueling yourself and then you're going to hit the gym the next day, you're not going to feel as good, and when you're constantly sitting there trying to play checks and balances, if when you're hungry, you should actually eat or not because you didn't work out that day, it can be really stressful. So these are all some of like the dietary things, like the nutritional related things that are kind of more application based that I wanted to cover first. And really when it comes down to it all, guys, this is the stuff that I want to troubleshoot for you all in my workshop this week. And this is relative to whether you are a male or a female. But for those of you guys out there that struggle with this, because I know that a lot of females have the extensive diet history, I am going to be simplifying everything for you. I literally have a section in the workshop where I'm going to tell you guys to close your eyes and for like the next 10 minutes to just freaking shut it all out. Like shut out all the bullshit, all the diet noise, and let me tell you exactly what matters. Like that's what I want to do. Like that's the goal for you, is that you leave there with so much clarity. Okay, so that's all like the dietary stuff. And like I said, I probably forgot a handful of things that you guys struggle with nutritionally. We can go down the rabbit hole, like should I eat fasted or fed, or like what kind of carbs should I be eating? Complex carbs this. What about my blood sugar? There's so much bullshit out there, and it's like literally clouding your head of so many different things. And women don't talk about how unbelievably frustrating it is, how unbelievably overwhelming it can be to want nothing more than to look better and to feel better and to actually like have a quality of life that you feel good about. And all of this stuff is going on in your head. And now we're going to get into some of the more detailed ones, the deeper ones, not just the surface level nutrition stuff that people might see and you don't talk about. Let's talk a little bit about, really going into some of the age-related hormone changes that you're experiencing. A woman's body does change as she's aging. A woman's hormones do change as she's aging, men as well. And that can be a really hard time in your life. And not only are you dealing with the stress and pressure of, trying to look in a certain way, and you're having the stress and pressure of like trying to fit in at the gym, but now you've got these hormone imbalances that are making your anxiety go up and your sleep go down and affecting how you're showing up in your life. And you're going down these different diet rabbit holes and you're underfueling yourself. And it can be a lot, and it can be really hard. And a lot of women just stuff it down and they don't talk about it. They don't talk about how unbelievably unhappy they are in their life and how every day they're like, I just wish tomorrow things would be better. And that's what they think, that tomorrow things are going to be better. Tomorrow it's going to be a better day. And tomorrow comes and it's the same shit, different day. So we want to kind of remove a lot of that. There's so many things that happen as you age. Managing your menstrual cycle. So maybe you're not an aging woman, but you do deal with the hormonal fluctuations of your month, ovulation, premenstrual, menstrual. Like you literally have 1 week out of the month where you're normal. Like that's really it. 1 week out of the month, and every other week is like you try to manage that stuff. So I understand guys have it hard, but ladies, you guys deal with a lot more. And all of that stuff impacts you. You get on the scale's up, and you feel like you just gained 2 pounds, and you're like, I've been working so hard and I don't even know why I'm working so hard for this anymore. It just gets overwhelming and it's hard to manage. But your menstrual cycle, something that's really hard, wanting to go to the gym and feel good, but like you feel like shit, like getting injured easy because, you're at that time of the month. There's so many things that women don't talk about in terms of how their menstrual cycle impacts their workouts. I got to take a sip of water, because I'm feeling like I'm in my flow right now. This is my shit. But yeah, like your menstrual cycle does impact things. It's going to impact. Well, I will tell you this. A lot of times people think that on their period, like they don't want to work out, but most women are actually strongest on their period, but they're the weakest right before their period, because just the changes in the hormone fluctuations. So, but yeah, that can be really tough to manage. Scale fixation. If you are in the CrossFit community, the scale is like the demon child. A lot of people put on weight when they start CrossFit. And if you're doing the nutrition stuff the right way, it might be muscle. Obviously we don't want, now if you're overweight, you obviously want to be seeing weight loss, but the scale can be frustrating. And if you are overweight and you're not losing, you're staying the same, you can think that things aren't working, but your body composition might be changing. CrossFit women get so hyper focused on the scale, but our training methodology is so varied, like every single day is different, so if you have a harder workout one day, you might be a little bit more inflamed going into your next day, and that's going to lead to some water retention. There's a lot of things that impact the scale that aren't just your weight going up and down. And it's something that as a coach, I monitor for my clients so they don't have that stress. I take that stress away from them and I teach them about the importance of watching weekly averages and watching monthly averages. Because as I said, your scale is going to fluctuate throughout the month. So I know what weeks my clients' cycles are going to cause a peak and when they're going to fall. And I can watch those trends from month to month. So it's like people think so much that nutrition is just like a 30-day plan. Like it's a 30-day plan and things are going to be better. It don't work that way. You're going to learn over the course of 3 to 6 months how your body is responding to your nutrition. It really takes that long to really get things dialed in. Okay, so scale fixation can be a huge thing and it's not necessary. I think that a lot of women would be a lot better if they look at other data points like how their workouts are feeling, what are they doing in their nutrition, their body fat percentage, the way their clothes are fitting, and just honestly, like your confidence. The next one I'm going to talk about is probably one of the biggest ones. And I kind of mentioned it in the beginning, but it's something that I feel like needs to really be brought to the front, like over and over again. Body image. We are all the worst at saying we don't compare ourselves to others, but we compare ourselves to others. Feeling not good enough, the sizing ourselves up, not just even with how we look, but even with our performance in the gym, like watching other people squat heavier, being able to do pull-ups and having to scale something. Like I say body image, but it's just really overall confidence in yourself. Wanting to learn. And in fact, I was there at one point. I was a games athlete and I felt like, why does everybody else like have these like super jacked lean bodies and I feel fat? Like I didn't like how I looked. And it's because I was under fueling myself and then I was over fueling myself. I was eating the wrong things at the wrong times. And when I dialed things in, I actually started to feel better in my workouts. I had a better relationship with food and I got leaner. So understanding that body image does play a huge factor in things, but it can lead to negative eating patterns. It honestly will negatively impact your physical, mental health and really impact your enjoyment of the gym. And you're showing up to the gym every day and like you hate the way that your clothes fit and you're thinking about like, oh, it's so hot out. I don't want to take my shirt off, but like I can't. And you're sizing yourself up to everybody in the class, it can be really hard to enjoy yourself in CrossFit. And a lot of people end up burning out because they're always playing the comparison game. So you got to run your own race and you got to do what works best for you. Recovery is another huge one. And this is going to kind of bring me into like my next section of things. CrossFit women, because they're under eating, they're not focusing on their nutrition, they're prioritizing everything else. They're not recovering. They're, running on 5-6 hours of sleep. They're going from CrossFit class to getting dressed, taking the kids to school, to work, coming home, getting the kids ready for dinner, bed, sports, and then they're trying to fit in a little bit of time for themselves to decompress at the end of the day. There's just no time for recovery. Now, I'm not saying that y'all need to go commit to, spending 2 hours in the Normatec boots and then time for cryo and all that stuff. I get it. But like, we should also be taking some time to relax and move a little bit slower. I struggle with this myself. In fact, today I kind of told myself, okay, like Cheryl, you've been working like I haven't had a day off in quite a while. I've been working really hard, getting ready for this workshop, putting a guide together. And today I'm like, Cheryl, after this podcast, like you're going to not work the rest of the day. You're going to go hit the gym. You're going to go to the grocery store. You're going to do some of your own shit. You're not going to work the rest of the day. And that's going to be hard for me to commit to, but I'm going to stick to it. But yeah, it's hard to recover when you have so many other things. It's just, there's not enough time in the day. And I think that this brings me into like the one I told you I was going to add on, because it's part of this, is how many of you ladies can relate to feeling like a lack of support, right? Like, and guys get it too, but I feel like a lot of women, it's really hard at home when you care about something like CrossFit, you care about this, but you feel guilty because maybe other people in your circle, in your house, in your family don't really understand. Maybe you get shit from your husband for wanting to go to the gym. Maybe you just don't get any help at the house and you're the one that always is doing everything. And all of that can feel really, really, really overwhelming. And it makes it hard for you to enjoy going to the gym. You feel guilty for it, but you deserve to be able to have that time for yourself. I know it's like, it's for some people, it's like, why do you got to go to the gym? Like, why can't you just relax? Well, maybe this is how I relax. Maybe this is part of me taking care of myself. And it's hard to express that to people when they don't have the same values. And that can feel very lonely. Two more things that I want to mention today before I close up shop on this episode. Okay. And this is a big one as well. Chasing performance versus aesthetics. And this is really like, it kind of goes into everything that women struggle with. Is like, I know I would love to improve my body composition, improve my confidence in myself, but I also love the way I feel when I'm performing better in the gym. And you feel like you have to choose between one or the other. You're either like on this restrictive diet and like you're seeing changes in your body composition, but your workouts feel like shit, or your workouts are feeling great, you're recovering pretty good, but like your body composition isn't changing. And that can be a really hard thing to navigate if you don't understand the fueling needs of CrossFit and how to actually get into a fat loss phase with a CrossFit program that doesn't tank your hormones, make you feel like shit, and, just honestly cause your body to store more body fat. And this is one of the things that I'm going to be covering in my workshop, because I know that that's the primary goal for a lot of women in CrossFit. I would love to be able to change a little bit, but I don't want to feel like shit in my workouts. And this goes into the body image thing. It can be really hard because it's just hard to balance. And I'm going to be covering how to periodize things for you, kind of breaking down what a fat loss phase would look like, and honestly, how to really optimize that phase that you do feel your best. And the final one I'm going to close up on today is kind of a little bit of everything that I've already talked about, and I've mentioned it in the body image and all that. I just think it's overall confidence. And I'm not just talking about confidence in yourself, in your training. I think it's actually more to do with trusting yourself, that your intuition is right. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't right. And if something feels right to you, it's okay to go after it. Just the overall confidence and lack of like self-esteem and security, I think, is something that women struggle with and don't talk about. And I know that it can be really hard because, a lot of things might have left you feeling insecure in yourself, whether it is your diet history, whether it is I haven't been able to lose this weight, whether it is I've never been athletic, I've never been able to do anything. I don't see this for myself. At one point, I was there in a number of ways in my life. Growing up, like I wasn't the most talented athlete. I became a pretty good athlete in high school and into college. But I really wasn't into fitness and health, and I didn't really have confidence in myself. I always wanted to be better, and I always felt like even in social circles, I never felt confident. I always felt like I was there, but I never felt like I belonged, and I think that even in the CrossFit community, that can be hard, so I think that confidence and trusting yourself, the process, trusting your intuition, and then confidence in your body and your performance, and knowing that, like, confidence doesn't come from, you measuring up to what other people are doing or to other people's standards. It's actually living up to the standards that you have for yourself, and doing things that feel hard, that you don't think that you're capable of, but you do them anyways. And you're like, oh shit, I did it. I can't believe I did it. That's really where confidence comes from. It comes from doing the uncomfortable things that you don't think you can change. So I know today's episode was a little bit different, but I really wanted to hone in on some of those things. And if you are someone that struggles with a lot of these things, I totally understand. You are not alone. I like to always remind people that even though you can feel alone because you're in your own thoughts, there are other women and other people in the world with the exact same thoughts and feelings. They're just not talking about them. And so I want to bring y'all together. And if you have not already joined my workshop and you want to learn a little bit more about dialing in your nutrition to support your CrossFit training at whatever level you're at, whether you are a beginner and you're just getting started, and good for you because you're not going to have all the bad habits, or if you've been doing it for a long time and you feel like you need to take the next steps or change something up, I'm here to help. Until the next episode, guys, I do have a couple of things I want to record some episodes on. And I'm just going to briefly talk about that right now before I close up. One is I've been holding out to put my thoughts out really on the Lazar situation, but I do have some thoughts about that with the CrossFit community and how it has actually impacted me just from my own history in the CrossFit Games. And I also want to give you guys an update on my games train. So things are going really well. And I probably will be releasing that stuff later this week. But right now I am in crunch mode, getting everybody set up for the workshop and what's to come afterwards, because we are going to be doing a little challenge. And that's pretty much it. If you guys are interested in the workshop, the link is in the show notes. And if you want to reach out to me, if any of these things hit home for you, please shoot me a message, shoot me a DM. I'd love to chat.